DEI is deadly.
Documents also showed that Pitt's proposal further included a racial target for harvesting of human fetal parts. Of its planned aborted subjects, Pitt desired 50% to be minority fetuses. The proposal suggests that subjects be diverse and be of an appropriate racial mix because Pittsburgh is diverse. So they wanted the babies that were killed and their fetal parts that they had harvested to be reflective of Pittsburgh's diversity. But however, the numbers say otherwise. It's really interesting. If you look up the U.S. Census Bureau, shows that Pittsburgh is close to 70% white. So why would they want a 50% minority sampling of baby organs and baby parts that had been aborted when Pittsburgh is about 70% white? Make this make sense. It makes no sense at all to me.
It's one of the most distressing parts of this grant application, and it's I don't know if it's possible to understand it, but the University of Pittsburgh, as basically a diversity and inclusion bonus or benefit of its grant proposal, advertised to the NIH that a benefit of the way that it was going to execute on this grant proposal was that it was going to disproportionately target minority women and infants for its late-term aborted baby kidney harvesting program. It's extremely distressing.
It's repulsive. It's horrifying.
Diversity, equity, inclusion is deadly. I mean quite literally deadly. I mean that abortionists care about diversity, equity, and inclusion too. I mean that abortionists, they want to fulfill racial quotas too, so that the diversity of their community is reflected in the children that they kill. Yes. Thank you, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thank you, David Daleiden. Thank you, Teresa Bukovac. Thank you for this hearing exposing what we suspected was going on for a long time. We've known what's been going on at the University of Pittsburgh for a long time, thanks to the work of David Daleiden and the Center for Medical Progress, who's now been sued out the wazoo by Planned Parenthood by recording them in little dinner parties and lunch parties and conferences and public areas, admitting that they changed the way they perform abortions so that more of the child is left intact, so that they can then sell the unspoiled organs to fetal procurement companies, in other words, the highest bidder on the black market, trafficking in fetal organ harvesting body parts. Baby body part trafficking. You know the story, but thanks to Marjorie Taylor Greene, we're hearing more from the story. We're seeing clips we didn't see before. University of Pittsburgh has been funded by the National Institutes of Health, NIH, by Francis Collins, Anthony Fauci's boss, before Francis Collins was aborted and released by the NIH. They were funding some of the most Joseph Mengele Nazi-esque level experiments you could possibly imagine. I've talked about the initial undercover work that David Daleiden did of exposing the third trimester abortions at the University of Pittsburgh Hospital, where they scalped the heads of children and placed them subcutaneously on lab rats to create humanized rats, humanized mice, so they could do testing to find solutions to staph infections. In other words, they murder babies to find new ways to extend our own lives, which should sound like any weird pagan, demonic civilization that you've studied in history, that we're doing human sacrifice stuff to the pagan gods, the dark gods, so their life would be blessed and they would live a little longer. Fauci and Francis Collins funded this stuff, and now we find out that diversity, equity, and inclusion is an important feature of the abortion industry. In a grant to the NIH in order to get more money to kill more babies and get their parts, the National Institutes of Health bragged that one of the features of their work that the NIH could fund would be that they would be providing a racially diverse segment of aborted children. Look, 50% of the babies that we're going to kill and chop up to pull their organs out, 50% of them will be black and brown. That's right. University of Pittsburgh bragging that they want the children they murder to mirror the racial diversity of Pittsburgh. Even though Marjorie Taylor Greene correctly points out that Pittsburgh is about 70% white, but these Mengele Nazi-esque scientists want 50%, not 30% diverse murdered children. They want 50% minority fetuses is the word they use. Oh, we're so equitable and caring and compassionate that the least we can do while we chop up and butcher children to sell their parts is to make sure that we're doing it in a way that no one can accuse us of yes, exactly. Do you see how DEI ends up inevitably being racist? They always say DEI is to be anti-racist. It's to fight racism. It's the heritage of the 1619 Project and slavery in America. That's why we have to turn away the white applicant who's more qualified and hire the black applicant or Hispanic applicant or whatever who's less qualified to fight racism. And then you're like, but isn't that racist that you're denying the white person who's more qualified? Yeah, isn't it racist when you say, I want half of my butchered baby victims to be black and brown? DEI is deadly. It always has been. But in this case, it's more deadly than you could possibly imagine. They literally are saying at the University of Pittsburgh, we put on racial lenses so that we can make sure that at least half of our victims are Hispanic and black babies. But because they have an abortion center at the University of Pittsburgh hospital on campus, then they're actually doing the abortions. In this case, at the University of Pittsburgh, they're not like going to a local Planned Parenthood butcher shop to purchase the kids. They're killing them at the University of Pittsburgh. Do you understand that? And then they're walking them across campus, usually on ice to keep the cadaver fresh and the organs fresh, and then selling it to a fetal procurement company or tissue hub that they have operating within the University of Pittsburgh as well. Which is why this grant was submitted to NIH to say, give us more funding, and hey, we're going to institute DEI, okay? We're going to be really diverse in the children that we kill. Wait a second. This sounds like the entire abortion industry. This sounds like what they've been doing for decades. This sounds like Margaret Sanger's Negro Project. Oh, right. Have you heard about that, YouTube? The Negro Project? Do you want to know the opening proposal of the Negro Project, started by Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, the patron saint of feminism, and in a real regard, the founder of the abortion industry, at least how it's operated in America, because Planned Parenthood was doing abortions before nearly any other company or organization was doing it legally in the United States. They were doing it in the 60s before Roe versus Wade. Right, yeah, the Negro Project, started by the woman who founded the largest abortion provider in the world, said, quote, the mass of Negroes, particularly in the South, are still breeding carelessly and disastrously, with the result that the increase among Negroes, even more than among whites, is from that portion of the population least intelligent and fit, end quote. So Margaret Sanger said, black people are reproducing too much. That's a problem, and it tends to be from the subset of the society that's least intelligent and fit. And so we're going to put our Planned Parenthood clinics in predominantly black areas, which is why today Planned Parenthood has, before the overturning of Roe v. Wade, 79% of their surgical abortion facilities within walking distance of majority black neighborhoods. It's the same racist, demonic spirit the entire time. Nothing's changed. So, of course, that spirit of racism is reflected in the entire abortion industry today. And in this new bombshell report, thanks to the reporting of David Daleiden and the courage of Marjorie Taylor Greene, the University of Pittsburgh, that does some of the most heinous, Nazi-esque experiments with aborted babies, have a racial bias to make sure that 50% of their butchered babies are black or brown. Do you understand what's happening in America? Do you understand the heritage of these ideas? How long this kind of evil's been going on in America? Don't be surprised by stories like this. Be disgusted and be outraged, but don't be surprised. For this is a little vignette, and it's a little window into the entire culture of death, the entire abortion industrial complex, and the liberal establishment and Democrat Party that upholds, empowers, enables, and funds those institutions and that evil in America today. DEI is deadly, and yes, abortionists want to meet racial quotas too.